Hey, it's Joel Walsman, CEO and Master Electrician of Jefferson Electric. It is the end of the day on Friday, and we're about to wrap this up. My new buddy Maruful, our satellite dish that's gonna get torn out. Oh my goodness. There it goes. That didn't take a lot of effort. And join us as we install this 2-gang meter base for dedicated electric vehicle charging. And if you're an electrical contractor watching this video and you want to take your revenues up to $2,000 per truck per day, if you want to take your business to the next level, get home to your family on time, and maximize your revenues, I invite you to check the description, EPro for Masters. It's our business mastermind group. Sign up. I'll see you there. We'll work together on that. I'm here with my friend Maruful. Maruful's brought us into his home. This is his 3-car garage. He's got a Tesla. We're gonna fire it up with the AES EVX meter. Our job today is a new 200 amp panel.
Correct.
A 2-gang meter base.
Yes, sir.
We've already submitted paperwork to AES. We've got a 1 to 4 hour time window. AES will be out here to disconnect power, take the whole house offline. You ready for that?
I am ready for that.
Your wife's ready for that.
I gave my wife a heads up because she is working. She's at the meeting. I said, when does your meeting end? At 11. I said, okay, hopefully power would be on still until then. And then
Great.
She's good. She doesn't have any more meetings.
Great. I brought 2 portable batteries, one for me, one for you. So you can take it inside, power up the computer, lights, fridge, anything you want.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
You think of everything.
Hey, we try. And part of it is like 1 to 4 hour window for them to come out. We'll do our work, but then there's a 1 to 4 hour window on the back end as well. So worst case scenario, power might not be on until
late in the
8 o'clock,
evening.
9 o'clock, right?
Okay.
No, I take it back. It's been worse than that before.
Okay. Hopefully it would
But-
be better this time, but that's okay.
Yeah, their line crews run around the clock, so they don't care if it's midnight or anything else. They're always
Weather
out.
is nice, so
It
it's
is.
not too bad.
It's probably 72 degrees.
Mid-70s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna finish unloading the truck. Maruful's taking good care of us out here. We've got work tables to work off, so I don't have to keep bending over, picking stuff off the floor. And I think mentally, I'm prepared. You have
Coffee
questions?
for you. If you guys ready, I can get some coffee.
I'll take it.
All
Thank
right.
you.
I'll go
Appreciate
ahead.
it.
Okay.
Let's
All
do
right.
it. Did you do any kind of calculation based on how much you drive to know?
So far, my wife and I have been driving the Tesla for like 4 months, and based on the Tesla app, you could see that we have spent about $100 in electric cost. 1/4 or 1/5, it would be like $20. So over 4 months, we would have saved about $75 or something like that. So yeah, it's not going to be easy to recover the installation cost, but like I said, even if you have more than one, then you can recover it much quicker. Otherwise it will take like 2.
AES has been here. They've disconnected power at the pedestal right there. They've confirmed power is de-energized. I watched the confirmation, so we are ready to engage, get this thing ripped apart and put back together again. Psh, look at that. I'm gonna save this little utility clasp. So that is the datacom. Always connects to the utility ground, and they just do a simple connection like this clamp. So I'll have to pull that apart. It's coming apart, but pull it apart, put it on the new meter base. One and 5/16 to the bottom. I want to give you the job overview here. We've got the existing 200 amp panel on the inside here. This is a 200 amp main breaker panel. Immediately outside is the meter base. I've got that disassembled and I'm ready to pull these wires out of my way. What's going to happen is once that 2-gang meter base is installed, it'll feed a new 200 amp panel right here. So there's a dance between the exterior and the interior to get everything to line up so that holes, alignment. See, I'd like these 2 panels to be at the same height inside, so it's a good finished appearance. I've gotten an Eaton panel, which is the modern version of Cutler hammer. So this Cutler hammer is no longer manufactured today, but Eaton bought the rights. So conceivably, you could take the breakers and swap them between the panels without any issue from a UL or a safety standpoint. So I'm excited. We marked the utilities, 811 dig, in case we need to install ground rods today. You never know if you're gonna roll out and ground rods are deteriorated, etc. So all these flags here, this is a standard practice for installing ground rods. It's an easy online process to request free public utility locates, and then we'll know what we're up against. And in fact, we are up against. We've got 3 utilities immediately in this area. Red is for power, orange is for the satellite or any kind of datacom. We've got actually 2. And let me correct that statement. Actually, in this case, this is not a public utility. So this is unmarked. So that is an additional piece that I need to be watchful for, but it is showing right here. And so I can see its travel path, and then the gas line runs straight through here as well. So check the grounding situation. If I need to add ground rods, I know what I'm up against. I've taken my measurements. I leveled my conduit. Since I'm opening up the siding a little bit, this conduit was slightly cocked to the right. So I'm gonna be able to level it up, cut the siding open, mount the meter base, dial in my holes. Might be able to use a knockout over here, but probably not. They'll probably all be custom cuts with these Lennox electrician's hole saws. These things cut like butter. Low speed, and it comes in like a 70-piece kit or whatever it is. So you're teed up for every situation. So that's where I am now, is just carefully plotting and mapping. Last thing I want to do is have a chump out of the siding that is my fault, looks terrible, and doesn't line up with the final product. So as an apprentice, I can remember doing a job like this. Actually, I was out on my own at this point, doing a job like this, and just like how slow I was in trying to do all the math and line it up. And it's just simple addition, but it's easy to get the numbers added instead of subtracted when you're converting from the interior to the exterior. Yeah, it just takes a little bit of time to become accustomed to that process. So rock it out, rock it out. If you're doing a project like this, you might have 3 concerns. 1, what is this and what's the risk? So this is the D mark for internet telephone cable right here. SBC is the old company, probably owned by AT&T now. This is the ground wire. There's no risk off that. I will say in some situations, grounds only under failure conditions. I'm qualifying it now. You could get a shock off of that if it's possible. So just bend it out of the way. Photocell up top, that's a light sensing device for exterior lights. That's not a risk. We're not going to be interacting with that at this point, but the consideration is this. If the panel is here and the photocell is there, there's a stud in the wall right here. If that wire exits the panel and comes up here, when I'm cutting in, I could intercept that wire and potentially damage it. So I just want to be mindful that that's a potential, but of course on either side, above and below the electrical panel, it's going to be potentially congested. So as we make this cut through the wall, that's something to be mindful of. On the inside, we've got a doorbell transformer here. That's really common to see it located somewhere near the electrical panel in the garage. So that is a 120 volt to 10 to 16 volt transformer. You've got 2 leads. They go off to the chime and then make their way to the push button at the front door. And that's all that is. So those terminals are not hazardous. But again, want to be mindful that there's a wire that's leaving here and feeding that. When I make my cut, the risk of damage is real, and that risk and cost would fall on me. So I need to exercise due caution. It's coffee break with Maruful here. So you were asking where I grew up.
Yes.
I'll reciprocate that question to you.
Okay.
But 3 months old to 8 years old, I lived in Casablanca, Morocco, which is north coast of Africa. And then right after high school, I spent 6 months in Cameroon, which is the armpit of Africa, and then traveled through Europe, 5 or 6 different countries. And so that international experience is
fascinating.
It's enriching. You get to stand outside of your culture
Yes.
and look in for the first time.
Exactly.
And you just don't know what you didn't know.
No. I mean, people say that they like travel, which is great to hear, but what's good about travel and be able to experience that culture is totally different. So if you stayed somewhere for like a length of time, a couple of months or a year or 6 months, you get to know the culture, the people, the family. It's not just like traveling there for vacation for like 6 days. You don't get that. So you stayed in like Casablanca and Cameroon for so many years. You experience the culture and you learn a lot. So yeah, I'm originally from Bangladesh.
Yeah.
I came here in the US in the mid 90s to study, and after study I came to Indiana to work, and I've been here ever since.
That's great. Where'd you meet your wife?
So we got married in Bangladesh.
All right.
So it was an arranged marriage.
Yeah.
It works out well. I mean, it's not to say that we don't have our quarrel times,
Yeah.
but yeah, which is good. You need that, right?
Yeah.
All cannot be all good. So sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but overall it's great.
Yeah. That's great. How about your sons? You have 3 sons?
3 boys. One is going to IUPUI, one is in Purdue, and the other is senior. He's going to be senior.
Okay. They're all men at this point.
Yeah,
Wow.
They're growing
Yeah.
up,
What a
and-
season.
Yeah.
My oldest being 14, he's starting to get some, a little bit of muscle, a little bit of facial hair, and it's just, you see him transforming, and he's my height, and so he's just taking
Wow.
on,
Yeah.
it sounds like we have the deep voice of a man in the house.
Yes.
My wife and I, a couple of times, we were in the kitchen, and we were like, there's somebody in the house. Oh, it's our son. We just didn't recognize his voice. He goes through that rapid
they
change.
changed
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Changed that. I'm glad to hear about your kids.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, thank
Awesome.
you. Yeah, thanks for the coffee.
You're very welcome.
Sip, sip, back to work. We're inside the garage. I am ready at this point to cut in a small hole to check what's going on inside the wall before I lay the whole panel out, cut the larger hole, and penetrate the siding. This is my lower risk proposition, so here goes. This hole saw's getting dull. Keyhole saw. Okay, this is kind of a moment of truth for the project. There's nothing on that stud, nothing on this stud. That mounting nail goes all the way through the stud there, so I have to cut that off. Made it a little small. Let's go a little bigger. So we have a bigger hole now. I can fit my arm inside the wall. It's all clear there. It's clear here. I can feel that. I've got my boroscope if we need it, but bro, we're good. We're clean and clear. That's exactly what you want on a Friday, because it is presently Friday at 12:20, and gotta rock and roll. Yeah, let's bring it over and hug where the stud will be. Okay, let's hold it right there. There's 5 inches on the stud bay width, and there's 10. Obviously it's at an angle, so it's probably 14 and a half true. Now the trick is, I've got 2 screws or nails there. We want to keep this centerpiece of drywall intact if we can, because the covers won't quite meet. There'll be a 1/2 inch gap. Time to slice it open. Having confirmed that the measurements are accurate, I'm going to transfer that to the meter cabinet. Once I can slide the meter cabinet over the top of this pipe, line it up with that hole, I'll have 2 fixed points, and I'll be able to map out, mark the rest of what we've got going on here. So we're making progress. This will be good. This will be good. And I don't know why I forgot, but here's a tip. When you're drilling metal, you've got to pull that off, pilot your hole, because as soon as your pilot punches through the cabinet, then you'll drop in and engage the teeth so suddenly that it'll torque real bad, it'll twist your wrist, and it'll potentially bend your pilot or snap it right off. So take it easy, Tiger. There it is. Couple of tips: low speed, medium pressure, steady hand, definitely use the auxiliary handle, and if you've got a bunch of holes to cut, you could use a cutting oil or a wax, and that will preserve the life of your hole saw by reducing the temperature and improving the cut. Time for the trial fit. lines up. Put our magnetic torpedo level up there. You might ask why the end of my torpedo level is missing. I cut it off on purpose to customize it for a job we did. You can check out that video here. If I'm not mistaken, that was a pretty tiring day. It's very tiring. That's where we want to be, folks. I think we have a plan here. Well, my job is to, one, see the end from the beginning. Two, I'm going to try to salvage the right pieces to put this back together and make it weather tight. And I think I have a plan, so let's get to it. I'm using electrical tools to do siding work, but hey, that's how I roll. Got a trash box here. Quite a bit of flex to this vinyl siding. See, whether you're going to handle the siding or not, you've got to write these things as exclusions or inclusions into your bid so that you've got clarity. A lot of times customer will say, I get it, you're an electrician, you don't have to fix my siding, right? I'll hire a guy to do that when you're done. But if you don't specify and you leave a hole in the siding, then that's a bad look. And it might not be siding, right? It might be drywall and paint. We have standard exclusions built into the estimate form that every customer receives that says paint and drywall repair are excluded unless otherwise stated. Now, if we cause damage, we're gonna fix it, right? But we just wanna default a common mindset to an expected outcome. And that's the ticket there. Wow, look at that. We have the piece. What? They left it for us. That's crazy. I knew I was gonna have a little vinyl siding playtime, so I brought this siding removal tool made in Taiwan. I'm gonna slip it up in there. $7 on Amazon. Pull that out. That's good for removal, but also then getting those pieces slipped back together. So now I've got a little more room to play. Let's see if I can get to that screw. It's out. There it is. Boom. Snugged up. By the time I get this outside tightened down, we'll know for sure. So that's the pass-through for the service conductors into the existing 200 amp panel. What that does for us is we're just, Tim and I, on one side or the other, tightening up the fittings. Everything needs to be tight. That's the basic. So it is now. Finish ideating, cutting this siding open here. Well, look at that. These pieces of siding don't match up, and I don't know what the real mark is. You know what? But this one has got an anchor in it. It's not moving, so that's the real mark. Vinyl siding has intentional play in it, and so the lines didn't match up, but it's this top piece that's moved. So I'm back on track. You know, apologize to my grandkids later for this lack of hearing protection. Okay, we're gonna run out and get a piece of J-channel as opposed to piecing something together, relying on caulk, because if you want some controversy, check out this video here on thermal expansion regarding PVC. There's a good chuckle for you. But vinyl siding, like I said, has that intentional movement in it. Look at that. It's slotted how it's mounted, and that slot is about an inch long, so it's got all that play. And what's gonna happen if we just caulk it, that caulk joint might peel away in one of the thermal activities of this J-channel, or at least over time, if not an individual event. And so we don't want it to pull from the meter base and then we start getting water in there. That J-channel is gonna make it cleaner, prettier. It's gonna help it shed water because we'll have a continuous piece of J-channel that'll run basically, yeah, there's more than one way to do it. It'll shed water though, rainwater. How I'm gonna do it, it's gonna shed the rainwater that hits the siding, runs down, hits that J-channel. It's gonna shed it to either side and dump it, and that's gonna be an improvement. So we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Boom. So there's that. We're probably gonna have to drill some custom holes, you know, to hit the stud right on, because there's not a lot of holding power here, and it's probably gonna be right there. We'll take a measurement on the inside and bring it out with us when we come. So we'll temporarily just tack this meter base up, keep it from falling off the wall, and then we're going to set our panel on the inside, and I'll show you. Let's do that now.
Oh, someone cut this opening out too slim because we need full clearance all the way to the stud. So I'm just correcting their earlier mistake.
I wonder who the earlier person was who cut it.
Maruful, I don't need it right now. My boss, it's all over me.
What we found here is there's not a lot of holding strength in the exterior of this home, and so we've identified where the stud is. I'm going to drill a total of 3 mounting holes, and we're going to go straight for those big, nice, laggy screws right into the stud. Plenty of grab, but kind of all in one location. So really the requirement here is that electrical equipment has to be firmly secured to the structure, and that's what we're seeking to accomplish. 7/32 bit. Oh, there's 2, and there's 3. So when you're transferring measurements from inside out or outside in, you just find a common reference point and measure off of that. So I did off the edge of my hole closest to the backyard. You really can't use left and right, correct? Because it's gonna reverse when you go in and out, and you'll confuse your apprentice if you're trying to communicate to them. But edge of glass is really helpful. When you've got a window, instead of measuring off the window frame or some other reference point, measure edge of glass, because that's exactly what you're gonna see both in and out. So let's get this firmly secured. All right, we got good grab 2 places. That's a temporary hold. We'll pull it back down once we install the J channel, but at least it's exactly where it's going to live. And we can set the panel inside, match up our hole, mark the back of the meter base, and then you need to have at least 2 sizes of hole saws for this job. One is a 3-inch hole saw that's large enough for your running thread PVC to go through the wall. And what's beautiful about this is you don't know what the final dimension is going to be between the 2 pieces of equipment. The siding could vary, or if you've got brick, you could add another 4 inches. So this running thread comes in, like, I want to say 3-foot sections, 24 inches, something like that. You can cut it real clean with a bandsaw, pretty clean with a Sawzall, and get exactly what you need. This stuff is pure gold right here. We stock it at the shop 1.25 inches for 100 amp services and 2 inch for 200 amp services. And so that's going to be our solution for this. We're almost there. We're going to slide this in here. Oh, it's beautiful. I mean, who gets that first try? That is sick, bro. So what we're going to do is mark, Tim does. We're going to mark the hole, cut it through. We're going to be using 2 sizes of hole saws. Where it passes through the wall, we need a larger size, and then there it is, easy on that drywall. We want that to stay intact. And there's our Sharpie hole. So it's time for a larger hole saw. That's where we want it, right there. Do you want to mark about 3/4 inch and we'll cut it? It's time to mount this panel. So every panel pretty much has 4 knockouts on the sides that are meant for, they shouldn't be that tough. These knockouts are meant for flush mount installation. You knock them out, then you can slide the screws right through the sides into the studs. Panels are standard about 14 3/8 wide, so they'll slide right into a 16 on center stud bay. That is 14.5 inches, so it's usually a pretty good fit. And there it is. They're also 4 inches deep, 3.5 inches for the stud, 1/2 inch for drywall. So they are designed with the building structure in mind. It's a perfect fit. So the whole reason we're doing this, the whole thing this project is about, is a dedicated meter and a dedicated power source for electric vehicle charging. What's the ROI on this? Well, it's based upon how many vehicles you're charging and how much you drive them, because energy consumption is what you're going to save on. And the upfront cost of this project is $1,200. That's what we're charging today, labor and materials. Maruful supplied the 2-gang meter base, which ultimately came from the utility company. So we didn't have to go pick it up. We didn't have to buy it. Just the rest of the project belongs to us. At his energy consumption rate, between standard price to charge and what he's going to get on the EVX program in AES territory, his ROI is 4 years. He'd be grandfathered in. As long as the account holder doesn't change, he's grandfathered in perpetuity. And when you add a second, a third EV to this meter, and you'll have the capacity to charge 4 at a high rate, a level 2 rate, simultaneously, that ROI is going to improve over time. Or if you start putting more mileage on that EV, someone starts commuting daily for work, that money's going to improve. So what I'm doing right this moment is I'm going to run an 1 1/8" hole, actually 2 of them, up out of this panel. So he's got 1 for now and 1 for future to pull that 6.3 Romex through, or whatever he's going to do there. So there's a congested area in the attic. I'm going to go real conservatively. Here's screw number 4. You'll often will have a couple things to watch out for. 1, matching the depth to the drywall. You want to be pretty much flush. And then 2, if your stud bay happens to be a 1/4 inch wide or something, you're going to apply so much force, especially with these big coarse thread screws like I'm using, that you'll actually cause the panel to deflect outward, and you'll have trouble getting the cover on because the screw holes won't line up. So just be mindful of the deflection. If you had to, you could slip shims in to bring that back in. So completed the holes up top for Maruful, so he's able to pull his Romex out, over and down. That's good. I'm also going to cut him an electrical access panel, 2 of them, 1, 2, that allows him to get wiring up and out. So I think I'll do that now. Our coffee today was brought to you by Vitomin. In fact, not just our coffee pot is being powered off this Vitomin battery right now, but our camera batteries and other accessory job site power. So thank you, Vitomin. You've done a great job. So there it is. I try to take advantage of that bevel and mark the outline of the electrical access panel, and then I'm going to cut inside of those lines. See if I've improved since kindergarten, because that was hard to stay inside the lines then. This is just a real handy dandy spring loaded panel. If I can keep it. Yeah, I like that better. There it is. Keep rocking and rolling. Let's get this secured. Our all thread running through the wall. No, I'm missing a piece. We can't until we get the vinyl siding. It's time to break for lunch. That's what that means. Lunch break! Lunch break!
All right, so we've got this whole system powered by the Vitoman in this case. So that's this portable battery right here. We got using all 3 plugs, 1 for the computer, 1 for the little air pump for the X-Tool laser, and then to power the X-Tool laser itself. And it's doing great, taking care of all our power needs. So this could be completely portable, completely separate from any wall power requirements.
So I have a couple questions about how this X-Tool thing works.
Sure.
First of all, did you need any software on your computer, or how did that work? Because as an electrician, this is the piece that intimidates me.
Yeah, so for this, pretty simple. We used Inkscape, which is a free open source software. Here you can see a bunch of different artwork in here. You can also just use Paint, even PowerPoint or Word. Basically all you got to do is get a graphic. So in this case, I grabbed the Jefferson Electric logo, which is seen right here, and then added in your name, obviously, call for service, your phone number, and then the QR code there. This is a bunch of different QR code generators. Just make sure you do it in QR code. Don't use data matrix or any of the other kind of codes, because iPhones only read QR codes. They don't read anything else. Android can read everything, but that's an aside.
Hey!
So in this case, one thing you want to do in particular is look at the dimensions of your piece here. Put it in inches. So in this case, we've got 5.5 inches tall by about 3 1/4. So you can fiddle with it here or later, but pay attention to that. Basically, you got to export that into some sort of PNG or JPEG, which is just a graphic. Pretty much anyone that does graphic arts could help you with that if you don't know what you're doing. So then you get this X-Tool Creative Space software. This is X-Tool's free software. Comes right from their website. Just download it, install it, then you just drag in your file. So in this case, we've got the file here. You just drop it on their workspace here. And that's really about it. Up here at the top, if you didn't size it before, you can size it here. So you want to make sure that matches roughly how big you want to cut it. I also recommend pre-cutting on some cardboard, trying it out. Then over here on the material side, you can select, there's a bunch of user-defined materials. In this case, we're etching paint off aluminum. 80% power at 80 millimeters per second is a safe option in terms of it'll get it done. You may want to make it a little faster than that because that's a bit slow. But that'll depend on the exact material that you're cutting. You'll do a little trial and error with that. And so once that's done, then you just click process down here in the corner. That takes it to this screen here. You click framing to frame it. In this case, you will come over here to the X-Tool Pro D1. You press the gold button, and it will frame where it's going to cut. So you just look at that laser X there, and you make sure that that covers the spot that you're going to cut. So in this case, it fits right in there. You also adjust on the head here. Per the instructions, real simple. There's a little flip down on this side. That sets your focus height. So once again, you just press that. It will frame it. In this case, it's moving it out of the way. But you tape that down. That's what the tape's there for, to keep things in place.
Okay, so I have to ask, did these anti-laser to prevent your eyes from getting blown out glasses come with X-Tool?
They sure did.
Okay.
And it actually came with a really nice case too to keep those safe. So definitely wear those when you're cutting. When you're just framing, you don't need those. But you definitely want to wear those because, especially if you're cutting on aluminum reflects something like 98% of the laser energy.
Wow.
So that can easily get in your eye and then you're kind of done. So that would be no fun. So take safety seriously with this stuff. So after you're done framing, you come back to the computer, click framing complete, and then you would click start up here, and then it's ready to go. Definitely take your glasses, put them on, and then you press the gold button to start cutting. And you want to stand by while it's cutting. You don't want to leave because things could catch on fire, or a stray person could walk by and stick their eyeball in the laser. You wouldn't want that.
Okay. That seems pretty straightforward. Like that's literally it.
Here goes.
Boom. Okay.
Jefferson Electric.
So if I'm seeing what Chris is doing here, what I'm imagining is I'm creating my own art, my own branding for durable labels for repeat customer business. One of these on every single panel, residential and commercial. However, necessary customized signage like the Indy requires for photovoltaics and commercial projects. What I could be doing is controlling the timing, labor, and cost of creating custom labels in-house myself. And really the setup is $1,200. The software is X-Tool software. You've already got a computer and you don't have to have portable power unless you want to take it to the job site. And even then you probably have job site power. So to me, that might make sense. If it doesn't make sense to you, drop your thoughts in the comments. It's time to do the vinyl siding, and I'm thinking through step by step here. I need to back that off. I need something to cut the siding with. I'm ready for that. I'll be listening from Maruful as he hollers. Be ready to give him a hand in there. He is installing the Tesla wall connector right now. Okay, last time that comes off, hopefully.
All right. See, I'm trying not to. Yeah, I see it now. I got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yes, pull. Pull more. There's a lot of slack.
All right, that's pretty good. A little extra.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Whew, you did it. We drop down above the panel. General rule is pull your wire long enough to reach the opposite side of the panel. That'll leave plenty to hit your 90s and make it up. That's perfect. And then came across the garage here. And this will be the 6.2 that feeds the wall connector, and plenty of meat to mount that wall connector to, which is perfect. So back to the J channel. It's time to make that pretty out there. Definitely patching it here. I didn't plan on doing any vinyl siding work, and I don't claim to be any kind of expert on this. So I just needed a 45, and I saw, hey, there's my 45 right there. So what it is here, we're gonna leave that 45. We're gonna cut the drip. Okay, there's that. 26 5/8 is our dimension from this cut mark to the next cut mark. Even have a proper workbench is too crowded. Clean it up. Clean it up. Now the most important thing I can tell you all day is make sure you take the discombobulator and keep it separately spaced from everything else that's going on. If you don't, the gas line could blow. Absolutely imperative. That's what I'm telling you. So don't ever forget that. I do know that you don't tighten down your screws all the way. You got to allow room for latitude. But actually that's not up far enough. Okay, try again. There we go. So I'd been using my wife's deodorant and it was actually causing my armpit hairs to like, actually they were dreaded and I had to cut them. So I went shopping and I found me some Harry's, paraben free, aluminum free, super natural, and I have to say Stone, the scent Stone smells amazing. I think so, my wife thinks so. I've gotten a couple other comments too, like it's working. If you want the same deal, it's silly, but when something works, you gotta tell people. This is not sponsored. Check the description. Okay, it's in there. I think we're ready to put the meter base back on for the last time. That's gonna shed water, although it's not beautiful. Got this piece, but it's no bigger as far as length. So I think that's it. I think that is it. Mon frère. Oui, oui. Let's go. Vámonos. ¿Cómo allez-vous? No, that's not it.
French and Spanish.
Frenchlish. Okay, so this is where the whole thing might be a little snug. See, I probably started rejoicing too early here, because this side,
I can help pry.
see if I can get. Yeah, it's, you know what, I think that's sloping downward. It is. Yeah, I need to fix that. I'm just gonna be fighting it. There's no tack to the backer board. Do it once the panel is in place. Okay, let's see if we can get this seated on the male adapter. Tucked in here. Oh, it's in. Popped out over here. Come on. Oh, it's in over here now. Okay, I might need an extra hand. Yeah, there we go. You want to hold it to the house.
Come down a little bit.
Yeah, I got it.
It's in? Okay,
It's in.
perfect. Just a little.
Hey.
Oh, I wish that corner was tighter. That one's separated a bit too, huh? Well, okay, well, that's putting pressure on it. Nice grab. Look at that caulk oozing in there. Okay, so I'm not incredibly happy with the J channel. The closure plate on top is putting pressure on the J channel in the middle, which is causing some gap in here. So that's going to be, as the old saying goes, little paint, little caulk makes me the carpenter I'm not. That's what we're going to have to do to tidy that up. And then, of course, that's the flashing piece. But I'm at the limit of my vinyl siding retro skills. Well, as evidenced by the gaps slightly beyond the limit. There it is. So we got 3 beefy, high grab, high shear strength screws right into the stud. There's a stud that runs center. Then we have got the electrical panels here, and there's nothing to grab. Literally, the entirety of this is the steel of the electrical panel on the back side in this too. So that's our one mounting location. So we wanted to use big, long lags with plenty of grab. We'll put the datacom grounding connection back on here. Make sure to get this in the right order. I think you have to tighten this down first on this particular clamp. Oh. It's a driven connection, and then this keeps it from moving further. There it goes. This is the datacom utility ground, and it just literally a little pound-on fitting that grabs, bites through the enamel of the cabinet. It's pretty single use. I'm not getting the threads of that connection are stripped. I'm not getting any grab. So what I'm going to do is advise the datacom that they need to come out and resecure their ground, because I'm not permitted to bring that ground in here, and I don't want to have to get into rerunning it and everything. That they'll do that for free to ensure the quality of their utility, and maybe they'll consider the quality of their connectors too, because that thing's jank. That's the word for it. It's jank. I've got a word for that. Okay, it's time to bring our lock nuts and fittings together here. Run some wire, not too far from calling the utility company. We want to call them as soon as we're kind of in the clear, because they could show up in as little as 15 minutes or as much as 4 hours. So as soon as we got a wire run and we're close to making final terminations on that, then I'm comfortable giving them a call. There it is. That is nice and snug, tool tight. Everything needs to be tool tight. And there are bushings. Those bushings are required by code, and that will ease the entry of the wire over this metal fitting in particular as it enters and gets bent hard to make it into this terminal. I think I'm prepped to start terminating and getting these things landed. These conductors have all come out of the existing meter base. Oh, look at that. That was very loose. There's barely scarring on those terminals. See, that should be a decent indentation that never got torqued down properly. Thankfully, copper is a little bit more forgiving than aluminum, in that it never overheated. I would almost expect to see it all scorched and blackened, but just popped out. Yeah, just popped right out. All right, let's get a length on the wire. See if it's gonna reach. All right, finalize that here after a bit. There's 1, 2, and the 3rd. It is time to get it done. Wire brush it on there, work it in. Yeah. So you can see this is the neutral connection because it is bonded to the cabinet right here. Neutrals and grounds are common. In fact, in our utility jurisdiction, there will not be a grounding conductor in this cabinet. The neutral is called a grounded conductor, and that throws people off. You're like, wait, grounded and grounding, that's the only distinction? Yep, absolutely. So what I'm gonna do here to maximize the termination quality is I'm gonna tighten it down, loosen it up, and then tighten it back down again. And the second time I'm really gonna, ooh, there it is. Take it in there a little bit. Actually, this is the wrong tool to make my final connections. It's just nice because it's lightweight, sits on top easily, and I can move it quickly. But that's it for that. That's it for that. All right, this one is L1. I marked it with black tape. I'm gonna terminate it here on the left terminal, and that left This left terminal lug, mechanical lug, then feeds the left side of each jaw, meter jaw. You're right, these are, I'm stripping them back farther. These mechanical lugs are so big. And so there's like 1/4 inch hanging out each side, which I don't mind at all. Really a big fan of this Titan Allen wrench set. It's just so durable, it fits beautifully. I'll drop a link in the description. Not sponsored, just really nice. All right, loosen that up. Long too, that's part of it. I like the length so that I can get my hands and knuckles out away from the sharp edges. Okay, now this one, L2, cut it off here. The Titan. It's got the ball end so you can come at it from just a slight angle. Something's in your way. It's really nice. All right, putting some no-lux on that copper, not because it's required by code or anything, but because there was some corrosion on it and I wanted to clean it up. And so now I need to get it landed in that terminal lug there. Oh, a little corrosion on that too. Let's just give it a rub down. See that whiteness? It's really mild. It's not gonna hurt anything. Rub off what we can, put no-lux on the rest right at the point of connection. And that baby landed. It's trying to walk its way off.
I will not scratch your lens. Here it comes. All right, push enough in there it doesn't fall out. Whoop.
Here I come. We've got two first means of disconnect, right? So there's no exterior breaker on these. They're just two service disconnects and they're inside here. That's, Indiana's still in the 2008 National Electrical Code, and that generally flies at one job, just one job where inspector required an external disconnect. And they've not required it again since then. It's just I wonder if you had a mistaken opinion and got corrected, because I called in about that one and contested it. Now they wouldn't overturn that one, but they have not required it since then. And I wonder if they don't want to make their inspectors look bad by having supervisors overturn their rulings. That's my thought. So they punish the contractor. Well, anyways, it is required in many states. It's not a bad idea, but on this job, our service disconnects are inside. So what I just did is I tightened down the ground screw, the bond screw that bonds this terminal bar that's connected behind the main breaker with this terminal bar to the cabinet itself. And that's required at the first means of disconnect, where the grounds, neutrals, and the cabinet are all common or bonded. So that's been done. If there was an exterior main disconnect, and this was the second main disconnect, then you would take that green screw out and throw it in your stuff box for the next project. And you would separate grounds and neutrals. Essentially, your neutrals would be floating inside of this cabinet. It would not be bonded to the cabinet or any of the other grounds. All right, now it's kind of a inside, outside, back and forth deal. Taking my no-lux and my wire brush with me, making terminations on these aluminum conductors. Aluminum is substantially cheaper than copper. At this size, it really makes an impact of, 100, 200 bucks on the job. So that's the only extra effort. And then in addition, aluminum tends to be more malleable and lighter weight than copper, even though you've got to go to the next size up. So this would be 3/0 copper, 3/0, 3/0 copper, or 4/0 aluminum. And even with consideration to that, it's cheaper. So there's our neutral. I'm going to go out, cut it, terminate it, and then just keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth till it's done. All right. Yeah, it's true. I think old timers, hand tools, young guys, power tools. I think whether it's woodworking, electrical contracting, like that's just the kind of overall bent, the default position. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And If you're gonna share what your default is, then also share your age. And then we'll know whether you think you're an old timer or not. We'll decide, we'll decide.
What do you choose?
I'm only 36, but I would consider myself to default to hand tools. So there you go. I could terminate this for you. Do you have a breaker for this?
Would this be the right one?
you were waiting on me to ask.
Well,
was that in your pocket?
I wanted to finish with your work, so I could ask, like, is this the right one? I didn't want to ask, like, could you put this on?
Nice. That's the right one. Do you want it top, bottom? Do you care? We'll just bring it bottom. That way you could always move it up, shorten it if you had to or something. But okay, cool. We'll make sure we get to the point we can call AES first, get power turned on before we actually terminate that. But now we know we can do that, which is good. It's time for this guy. Terminating our last service conductor. Okay, so there's confusion around what are service conductors, what are feeders, and service conductors are everything up to the main point, the main disconnect. So this conductor coming in here to the main disconnect, these 1, 2, 3 are service conductors. These 1, 2, 3 are service conductors. Then if we had a sub panel, let's say this 50 amp breaker, it's probably going to a range, right? But let's say that was feeding a sub panel in the basement, then those would be feeder conductors. Service conductors, feeder conductors. But now let's say this, we had an exterior disconnect for each side to turn off power before it came inside here. Going from the meter to the disconnect, that's service. Then coming from the load side of the disconnect in here, those are now feeders. There it is, last one. And you may also be wondering why this conductor in the right meter jaw is aluminum. Well, it wasn't long enough. See, the 2-gang meter base, it moves the connections outward, so we had to replace L2, and I forgot the Nolux inside again. Interestingly enough, utilities, they have certain liabilities and exposures, but it's different from an electrician. See, if something goes wrong here and this burns up and causes a fire or a loss, then the electrician is responsible, but the utility company, I don't know that they're responsible if something like that happens unless you've purchased their line protection. Okay, this is all set. We need to torque, throw the covers on. It's time to start cleaning up as we go. So the surge protectors, you have 2 main distribution panels. You're not obligated at this time in the state of Indiana to install these because we're still in the 2008. But the 2020 code and thereafter, they're required. So I'll show you what this physically looks like. This is the big beast, and it would be installed in this case immediately below either electrical panel or inside. We'd have room on the right one and the left one. So you can put it inside and then it terminates to a breaker. It has indicator LEDs, but this one also provides an audible chirp if it's failed. I've never had one of these fail on me. Actually, I don't know if I've ever had a surge protector fail, period. And then this one is real basic. It's a breaker style. So you could determine which one you perceive has the greater value. The EV is plugged into the right one and the rest of the house into the left one.
Right.
EVs do actually have integrated surge protection. They do, experts recommend that you layer surge protection because when a surge comes in, you knock it down and you clean it up. And then if it hits another surge, it knocks it down and cleans it up. So if you even had 3 layers, by the time you had something plugged in at the desk, that's not going to hurt it either.
Yeah. So these are mostly going to protect you from if there is a power surge, whether it's lightning or some power failure that puts a great amount of electricity through your wires that just suddenly comes, right?
Right.
That's where you're going to protect yourself. And these are very useful to protect your valuable electrical equipment.
That's it. LED bulbs all the way up through refrigerators and HVAC equipment.
So how is this different from the power strip that are also called like surge protectors for certain amount of joules, whatever that is?
Yes. Same concept.
Okay.
This one, the big boy, is rated to 140,000 amps. So it's really
Big
ultra
piece,
powerful.
yes.
Yes. And then they'll have higher I mean, it seems like almost everybody's seen it one time or another. You've seen one of those power strips melted. Have you ever seen that? That's
But yeah,
so that essentially is, they're just smaller, cheaper versions. Whereas this is a few $100, you know, and it's going to have the lifespan, protection, capacity ratings, etc.
thanks for the education.
Absolutely, yeah.
It would be useful.
Okay, so my next step is I need to run to the shop and grab a torque wrench if I don't have one in my trunk. I call that Tesla a truck. Trunk is what I meant to say. And then actually I need to put the lock nut on the service riser out there. I totally omitted that. And so I was cleaning up, picked it up, lock nut, torque wrench, and we'll check grounding and call AES. We're closing in. I'm gonna say another 90 minutes. Can you put up with us for another 90 to 120 minutes?
I can put up with you more. if
Okay,
you need
okay, whew. Dodge that one. Let's go. 4:13 on a Friday afternoon. Ah, I totally spaced putting the riser lock nut on. Boo. If I was your apprentice, you'd probably be yelling at me right now. You're trying to get to the bar or the racetrack, and here I am forgetting the lock nut. Come on. Everybody makes mistakes. There we go. That's like a 5-minute mistake. Can handle it. My guess, percentage guess that my torque wrench is sitting in the trunk is 10%. Not very confident.
Okay, let's see about this ground. Okay, there it goes. Yep, boom. Comes in right there. Let's just give that a pull.
Okay, considering we've got an identified ground, this house is 21 years old. If it was like 60 years old, it'd probably be deteriorated and worth replacing, but not 21. I mean, it's a $200 job. You probably don't want me to just throw that in there just to be safe, right? There it is, and it comes up here and it terminates there. Okay, so that's good, and we've got it jumped over here. It's time to torque this down. A couple things I want you to know about torque equipment. One, you're always gonna have electrical equipment will be stamped with specifications, minimum, maximum wire sizes, wire types, things of that nature. We are 200 inch-pounds on the line studs, and the smaller are actually 250 inch-pounds. So you can't always correlate the size of the lug and the size of the conductor to the torque. We're using foot-pounds here, so I'll be at 17 foot-pounds for this. There's a ton of leverage here, it's just beautiful. It's like butter. It's like butter. There it is. The utility company has been called. I immediately then thereafter had a subcontractor of the utility company call me, and that is, they said 1 to 4 hours, same thing the utility company says. But this bit will be subcontracted out. I wonder if they have like a volume, you know, if their lead times are more than their response time. Oop, gotta go up to 21 foot-pounds. Yeah, that's it right there. If their response times fall outside of that window, if they automatically kick off to the subcontractor, it'd be interesting to know. There it is. Got an extension on there. Tighten this baby down. The extensions are just so nice, right? Get your hands out of the cabinet, save your knuckles. I've got a couple of treats here at the end for you. Stick around. It's time to caulk up this exterior and get it. This is an outdoor paintable. That paintable is key. If you ever want to paint it and you use non-paintable caulk, then it just doesn't look great. It'll flee away. Hydrophobic. All right, let's get this. AES is here. I'm torquing down, making final connections. They're gonna energize the service here momentarily. Oh, come on. 250 inch-pounds on such a small fitting, and it just wants to get jammed in there. Let me grab my tools. Just more of the same here. What are the risks if this breaker in particular was on and the lineman made connections at the utility pedestal out there? Well, you'd immediately call for load as soon as that connection was made, and we'd create an arc event for him. Literally, he'd be bringing them together to remake them, and it would pop. And that's called an electrical arc. It's not a short. A short is when you actually have a fault in the wiring. This is just an event where it's calling for power, right? Every appliance in this place is going to be eager to start air conditioning and the compressor on the fridge and, you know, so on and so forth. So having this breaker in the off position prevents energy draw, which protects the lineman when he makes the connections at the pedestal. We've got this T-Rex tape. This stuff is kind of hard to work with in that it's so sticky. But thanks to X-Tool, we have made some custom labels. That QR code takes you straight to the Jefferson Electric website, and these were custom etched on our X-Tool. This thing is surprisingly cheap and user-friendly. So what I'm gonna do is indicate in this installation which side is the main, and I'm gonna take it up a little bit. Actually, let's put it right there. Which side is the main, who to call for service, who to blame if it goes bad. There's that. And then see if I can match that up pretty good. Check out the X-Tool product in the description. It is super cool. You can customize all kinds of stuff. So now we have an aluminum etched, will last pretty much forever label that not only identifies who to call for service, but identifies main and EVX meter. Pretty slick. Thank you, X-Tool, for sponsoring this video. Customized Jefferson Electric label, also provided by X-Tool for the inside. 15 pounds of force per square inch. There it is. Man, this is the Siemens FS140. I think it's a stock item on your truck. Siemens website identifies the optimal surge protector by geography. And Siemens FS140 is for this Midwestern geography that has a high potential for thunderstorms and lightning strikes. So that is that. And then you want these leads to be as short as possible. And I'm actually going to put 1 twist per inch more or less in there without making them any longer. You want gentle bends. And we're going to put it right like that. Whoa, look at that. It's time to install a 3/4 inch connector in the top right so we can bring that wire down in and land it right there on that 60 amp breaker. They're pre-installing the connector, and just doing the lock nut after the fact is pretty hopeful. And then you can use the wire itself to hold that connector in place. Keep a little tension on it so it's seated, it's not going to go anywhere. And then if you're able, Friday at 5, just spin that on there. Hello. Oh, look at that. I thought I had it. I jinxed it when I said Friday at 5. Maruful, you ready?
Are we ready?
You've been without power all day.
Let's get it done.
All right. 3, 2, look away. Nobody wants to burn on the face. 1. Boom.
Lights are on.
Lo and behold, it worked again. Never ceases to be satisfying. That's something, buddy, who, you know, when you sit at a desk, you don't get that same sense of physical satisfaction from completed work every day like an electrician does. That's just something that's special about our jobs. We've got to relabel it at its terminations. A lot of people forget to do that, but white is allowed because it's part of a multi-wire assembly. And so it's manufactured that way, right? We're not going to remanufacture the cable. This is how it's sold. But we do have the obligation for relabeling it at the termination points. So let's do that. Now this panel is still de-energized entirely, but the one on our left is energized entirely. All right, wiggle and seat, wiggle and seat. Come back to that with the torque screwdriver. Straighten this up and get it to lie in there nicely. Cut to length. Almost there. Keep the scrap wire. Maruful, do you scrap? Do you scrap wire? No? Well, I don't mind taking that, recycling it. Obviously we have large bins of scrap that go out about once a month. Steel, copper, coated copper, raw copper, and aluminum. 4 types. Ooh, easy tiger. All right, getting close. Let's do our duct seal. Woohoo! Gonna be warmer in the garage because it's semi-climatized being connected to the house than it will be outside, and vice versa in the summer. And so we want to utilize this duct seal compound to prevent different humidities and temperatures from mixing, because that is going to create a condensation, high moisture environment inside of our electrical panel, and that's the last thing we want. Besides a rodent inside of our electrical panel, I guess that's the last thing we want. Well, besides a child inside of our electrical panel, that is the last thing. So there is a, okay. Just like when you're fire caulking, you know, you put it around all the conductors, you get it stuffed in there. Wear gloves, it'll leave a thick, oily residue on your hands that won't come off easily, except with like a pumice hand soap. And it's all the way around every conductor. There it is. Gratifying. Yeah, this thing, look at that. Strong magnet, it really comes in handy. I love just slapping them all on there, and you don't lose any of them. Two pieces are clean up in here and caulk, etc. out there. We're real close. There's a live panel over here. Don't make me push you into it. Uh-oh, I'm gonna run out of space. It's just like middle school. Ah! Remember, all panel labels need to be unique, non-occupant specific, and is there another one there? Unique. So you can't have more than one label with the same thing, as in lights, 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 plugs, plugs, plugs. So common. Unique, non-occupant specific. I can't remember if there's anything else that's not intuitive. What's this say right now?
Say, Joel.
Right, yeah, you know what? It's real common. And probably what happened was you've only got about a 1/4 inch, 3/8 clearance from that center style to the breaker handle. So if it was closed, just light pressure there may have knocked a few of them off. In fact, I've done it before where I'm in front of a customer, I'm trying to talk to them on an estimate. At the same time, I'm trying to put the panel cover back off. I bobble it a little bit, I bump it, and this center style shut off half of the house. Boom! Because it just slid to the right about 2 inches and just clicked it. And they're, you know, of course, they're right at the moment of making a determination of competency, and here I am, 24 years old, just new in business, and I shut off half the house stress trying to put the cover back on.
That's about it.
That's it. Oh no, oh no.
And ever since I got the Tesla, I've been thinking about the ways to charge it, and I started Googling and YouTubing like what I can do, what can I do, what I can do. So that's when I came across Electric Pro Academy, Joel Woltzman's video, and many others as well. And then I started to learn more about him, and then I looked at a couple of more videos, and I thought, like, if I need work, he would be the one. But is he in my same place? In one of the videos, I realized that he is in the same city that I'm from, which is Indianapolis. So I said, like, okay, if I need it, I will have him do my work. But I wanted to install the Tesla wall connector myself, but then I found out this EVX rate. I can't do that myself. I need a professional licensed electrician. So I called a couple of places, and Joel is the guy who actually did it for me. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You did a great job. I couldn't have done it any better myself, or I don't think anybody could have done it better. So
Appreciate it. Hey, you've been great to work with. Thanks for being a viewer of Electric Pro Academy. Thanks for accepting a yard sign in your yard. And it's a pleasure. Hopefully this is not the last time.
hopefully it's not the last.
Yeah, thank you. And subscribe to Electric Pro Academy for real skills to make real money.